It is Tuesday, 7:30 p.m., November 12, 2024. I don't think we have the quorum. Looking at the attorney.
We're waiting for one more attendee for a quorum.
Yeah.
But if you-
Three of our city council members, they are in Tampa, Florida, attending the National League of Cities conference. So they will be joining us via Zoom. At that time, we'll definitely have a quorum. And one of our council colleagues here in College Park, John Rigg, is also expected to join. So once we have the quorum, in the meantime, I think we can go ahead with the announcements. Am I correct? Yeah, let's do that. Let's move ahead. And that time, we can also do Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, and we can start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and also actually, let's start with moment of silent meditation, followed by Pledge of Allegiance, and then announcement. In the moment of silent meditation, let's remember one of our community members. He's the business owner, John Brown. He has been the owner of R.J. Bentley's in downtown College Park. It's a restaurant, as you all know, and he recently died at the age of 77. He has been a College Park business owner, and he loves College Park a lot, and College Park loves him. And he is loved by the community. He loves College Park, the Maryland Terps, and if you go to the restaurant, you'll see all the photos of the football players and other players in the restaurant. So he's missed, and he will be missed dearly by the community. Please remember him in your thoughts and prayers. Any other item you want to add to the meditation? Seeing none, please join me in a moment of silent meditation. Councilmember Hernandez, can you do Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Be seated. All right, we'll do the announcements. Start with, again, Councilmember Hernandez.
Sure. I guess what I will talk about at the very beginning is just all the exciting things that we did in this 2 to 3 week period. There was a number of different activities. We held a District 1 discussion with residents in English, and for the first time ever, a district discussion in Spanish to try to engage some of our Spanish-speaking residents. It was well attended. We got to talk about a lot of different topics and take some issues that we didn't necessarily have updates for action. I was also excited to have had the opportunity to speak to the International Baccalaureate students at Parkdale High School. It was really great to see how amazing their program functions, and just some good news stories to write about at Parkdale High School. Additionally, I attended the UMD celebration of Diwali, which was super fun. Got to learn about, honestly, just a huge introduction to a culture that I am not all too familiar with. So it was really well done. It was set up by the students, presented by the students, and it was just really great. I want to flag that there's a turkey drive, for the College Park Food Bank. I'll let my colleague, Councilmember Mackey, if she remembers the date or time, but I just wanted to flag that for residents.
Councilmember Esters knows more than I.
Oh, I'll get it before the end of this, so I'll just pass it over to Councilmember Esters.
All right. Councilman Dr. Esters, please go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Two announcements. One is that the Lakeland Civic Association will hold their monthly meeting this Thursday, November 14th, at 7 p.m. It will be a hybrid meeting and will be held in the College Park Community Center. The other thing I'd like to share is something I'm really excited about, is that the City of College Park will be featured on the PBS show, If You Lived Here, on November 25th. I watch this show all the time and kept saying, wow, it would be great if College Park was featured, and we will be. So very excited about that, November 25th at 9 p.m. on WETA. Thank you.
Your wish is answered.
Yeah, you've been saying that forever.
Thank you. Councilmember Whitney?
Thank you. I also had the pleasure of attending the Diwali celebration last night, and also learned a lot and met a lot of wonderful people. So I encourage anyone to attend in the future if you hear about it on campus at the Stamp Student Union. Other announcements: Lakeland's Embry AME Church will host a matinee viewing of The Forge November 16th from noon to 2 p.m. That's at 5101 Lakeland Road. And then also, Councilmember Esters and I were able to join former Mayor Andy Fellows and the Director of the Office of Community Engagement, Gloria Aparicio Blackwell, with an introduction to civic engagement and social good class. And we met right here and just took a lot of questions from some very curious students who I really hope that we will see again in these chambers. We encourage them to participate and to make sure that their voices were heard. So we valued that experience very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. You helped us a lot by fulfilling the core. Thank you. Thank you. Before I give it to Councilmember Mackey, I want to take a moment to thank the residents who came to this weekend's Route 1 ribbon cutting ceremony, and some of my council actually came. Councilmember Ray, Councilmember Adams, and Councilmember Hill, and Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell was there too. It was huge because we hit a milestone. We have been working on for many years. I believe 25 years or more, but thankfully it's been done. The other huge news we heard in that meeting, the second and third phase of that project is getting started. I say when I say getting started means the discussion has started to get the funding. Hopefully it will not take another 25 years. It will be sooner than that. But thank you. I want to thank the community. It's really been a community effort. And the city, university, the state, and the county, all of them are intimately involved and put this together. Thank you. All right, Councilor Mackey.
Yes, I just want to say a thanks to the College Park Woods Neighborhood Watch Team for the meet and greet that they had on the 27th. It was a great opportunity to meet our neighbors and to interact with them, and we had a lot of things going on at that meeting, and staff, of course, helped out. For those of you who didn't participate in Good Neighbor Day, it was a great success, and thank you very much to my colleagues and our student liaison and all the students that participated in Good Neighbor Day. I don't know if any of them are listening, but the ones that worked with me were fantastic, and we had a great success and made a good dent in many projects and did some completions. And I just wanted, as you all know, our time changed, and I just wanted to encourage people to be very mindful that students will be walking and riding their bikes and riding scooters in the dark now because of the time change going to and from school. So be very mindful of that. And then one of my things that I always try to remind people of is please don't rake your leaves into the street. When they're in the street, they go into our storm drain, and cause flooding problems, which my colleague can attest to having flooding problems, but also they're not good to go into the stormwater for the environment. So thank you very much, and I'll pass it to my colleague.
Thank you. Before I give it to Councilmember Rigg, I can officially call to the order the meeting now because we have another quorum. Thank you, Mr. Rigg, for helping. Mr. Rigg, please go ahead.
Thank you, and I extend my apologies for my delayed arrival. I was stuck at my day job,
It's okay.
work a little bit long tonight. A couple of quick announcements. The first is that the next Civic Association for the Calvert Hills Civic Association is coming up on Wednesday, November 20th at 7 p.m. I believe that will be by Zoom. Also in that same neighborhood is the 2024 holiday tree lighting, which includes a brand-new tree this year. For better or for worse, the very old evergreen on the traffic island, the city-owned traffic island that has long been the home of the Calvert Hills tree lighting has met its natural demise at the end of its life and had to be removed, and is being replanted with a new and much smaller tree. So I spent, when I was a Civic Association president, several harrowing weekends up in the branches of the former tree, hanging the lights myself. So this will be much less harrowing for people to light.
It would be
Going
much
forward.
faster.
So anyway, that is on December 1st at 5 p.m. So the Civic Association meeting on November 20th at 7 p.m. by Zoom. The tree lighting, which is a very popular event, is at December 1st at 5 p.m.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Hernandez, please.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I got the additional information and I had a couple more announcements. I'm so sorry. I always felt like I was on the spot at the beginning. So the turkey drive is being hosted by the College Park Community Food Bank. Their goal is to collect 350 turkeys. Due to storage capacity limitations, they prefer turkeys that weigh 12 pounds or less. They're going to be accepting donations this Friday from 4 to 6 p.m., so November 15th, and also Friday, November 22nd from 4 to 6 p.m. Please drop off your turkeys there throughout that time. Additionally, the North College Park Civic Association will host its meeting at Davis Hall at 7:30 p.m. And just a quick note, on Monday, I want to express my great thanks to the Veterans Memorial Committee for, again, hosting an incredible ceremony celebrating our veterans here in College Park. It was very well attended, and I was really grateful to have been in attendance. I think Mayor Kabir and Councilmember Whitney and Councilmember Hugh were in attendance. I want to thank veterans of Foreign War Post that we have here in College Park and the American Legion Post for helping with the logistics and the lunch thereafter. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Sure, please go ahead.
Sorry. I was going to mention that one too. I couldn't attend, but I'm so glad that my colleagues were able to. And also, the College Park Farmers Market has 2 more Saturdays. Yes, so please get the things that you need, because in 2 Saturdays they will be closing off. Thank you.
Yeah, especially if you need coffee, it's the time to go and stack them. Please, you have another one?
I'm sorry, I also appreciate it. Wanted to acknowledge the work of city staff on Election Day
Yeah.
for making this precinct, the precincts for the area surrounding City Hall, making City Hall possible to use as a voting location. I know Ms. Allen put in a very long, our intrepid city clerk put in a very long day that day, and I suspect other staff helped out as well. It was pretty touching to me as somebody who has voted for a long time in a basketball arena to have the opportunity to go and cast my ballot in a place that really kind of reflects the democratic character, small d, democratic character of our community. So again, thanks to our city staff for helping to make that work, and I do hope that we consider continuing to offer this space as a venue for exercising our franchise going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I go to Ms. Ott, can I do the roll call, because I don't want to miss that, the orders. Can I start with Councilmember Hernandez?
Present.
Dr. Estes?
Present.
Ms. Whitney,
Here.
Councilmember Mackey,
Present.
and Councilmember Rake.
Present.
All right. All right, now we can go to our student liaison.
So, in accordance with the food bank, there's also tomorrow from 12 to 3 p.m. There's something called Terp to Terp happening at University of Maryland where students can get free clothes if they need it. There's also, I was also lucky to be a part of another panel for the same class that they did a panel for, and I also attended theirs. It was very nice to see so many college students, young college students, so involved and interested in city politics, and I know a lot of them will be coming back here. It was also great to see Councilmember Rigg at Good Neighbor Day.
Certainly. Thank you. All right, let's go to our city manager's report. Mr. Young is joining us from Tampa. He's at the National League of Cities NLC conference as well.
Mr. Mayor, I think Mr. Young.
Oh, he was there. I
prefers
saw
that-
him.
He's in the meeting.
Okay, he's in the meeting. Okay.
Um,
Can you cover him?
I just allowed him to speak, but I don't know if he's able to participate right now. I can give.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yep,
That's
I'll
us.
give a kind of a quick update of announcements. We're kind of moving into both the holiday season and a busy season, so tomorrow evening, there's a public safety meeting, so one of the quarterly public safety meetings that's online. If you go to our website, you'll find the login information or the link for that meeting. On the 14th, the county council is holding a public hearing on public safety, specifically regarding fire response times. If you go to the county council's website, you'll see that information. If you go to our website, I believe you also will see the links to that meeting. I want to thank staff for their support for the Veterans Day ceremony, which went well, and thank the American Legion Post 217 for their support and for their lunch. And also, as Councilmember mentioned, the Route 1 ribbon cutting. I want to emphasize to everybody that we celebrated the completion of Phase 1. This is a project that, as envisioned, and we will fight till it's done, goes from College Avenue North to 495. So we finished a little over a mile of that project with the state highway support. Senator Rosapep and our delegates are pushing very hard to make sure that we get funding to do the design and engineering work for at least Phase 2, if not Phase 2 and 3. So hopefully we'll be hearing some good news on that front. We heard today that Maryland National Capital Park and Planning has selected the consultant to do the feasibility study for a potential pedestrian bridge near the tennis center and the airport museum. It's something that the city has advocated for, probably 8 years. So hopefully we'll get some good information about some pedestrian connection improvements and other kinds of improvements in that area. And then also just want to remind everybody that we have the legislative dinner on November 21st. This evening we'll be discussing and deciding on some priorities that we will present at that dinner. And I believe that, one more announcement, I apologize for almost missing this one, but next year, we, the City of College Park, will host the Maryland Tourism Conference.
Yeah.
The hotel will be the host hotel, and I'm going to reach out and thank Southern Management and Councilmember Marie Mackey and Economic Development Director Michael Williams for their work in making that happen.
Thank you.
That's it.
That's all you have? Any question for Mr. Gardiner? Great news, all the good news. Thank you. Seeing none, actually, Mr. Young is in the 10 days. If we could bring him in. All right, let me do acknowledgement. We have, I can see Mr. Bob Catlin, former District 2 City Council member in the audience. Thanks for joining. And do I see anyone else? I'm not missing anyone. No. All right. I have one proclamation to make, which is the Municipal Government Works Month. It's a brief one, and it reads as follows. Whereas the City of College Park, Maryland was incorporated in 1945, and the state of Maryland is home to 156 other municipalities, and whereas municipal government is the most local level of government, allowing residents to have direct access to their elected officials and city staff, and whereas the city's mission is to provide excellent services, transparent and inclusive governance, and to advocate for our residents to enhance the quality of life for our diverse community. And whereas the city promotes municipal government awareness to encourage all of our residents to engage with and participate in municipal government through voting in our elections, serving on our advisory boards, and engaging in dialogue with city officials about matters that are important to them. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Mayor and Council of the City of College Park join the Maryland Municipal League MML in declaring November as the Municipal Government Works Month in College Park, proclaimed this 12th day of November 2024, Fazil Kabir Mayor, City of College Park. With that, I'm going to call for any amendments and approval of the agenda. There are a couple of them, right? Dr. Estes, first.
Yes, I would like to move item 24-G141 to the action items.
Any second, Mr. Mack? It doesn't need a vote because it's coming from consent to action. Okay, thank you. And further, so this has been added to the action item 141. What's the next? Ms. Whitney.
Yes, I'd like to add a new agenda item, 24G145, to confirm the appointment of Anna K. McDonald as the Deputy Student Liaison. Our former student liaison had the opportunity to study abroad and has had to step away from the position. And the mayor and our student liaison have interviewed the candidate. The SGA put the nominations forward. So I propose that we move that to consent.
Yeah, if there's no
Second.
second. All right. So it's 24G145 that is in consent, the consent item. All right.
We
any
do have
more?
to vote on that because it's being moved to consent, yes.
Yeah, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? So it has been added. All right, anything else? Yes, please.
Oh,
Please go ahead.
I note that on the worksheet in our red packet, it is 24G136 moved to action from consent. Is that so, or is that?
it was actually an amendment for clarification, so I was told it was not necessary to move that to action, so that's going to remain on consent.
Yeah, so this will be approved in consent with a minor amendment. 136, it still remains there. So the consent we have, the new one, which is Deputy Student Liaison, which is 24G145, right?
Yes.
That's the only one.
That is, yeah, the only new item on.
And the action is 24G141, is that? Yes. Okay. Thank you. All right.
Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstention, the agenda has been approved. Now we go to the audience for public comments on any consent agenda or non-agenda item. Mr. Carlin. Please continue your teaching lesson.
Yes, good evening, Mayor Kabir and Council. As I had said, I think the last meeting we had, I would talk tonight about student involvement in the government. We've actually had two students who were members of the City Council. In 1991, Michael Smith, a resident of Calvert Hills and a grad student in Maryland, was elected to the City Council. He served 6 years, but I think it was only his first term that he was a grad student. And then in 2011, Marcus Savzali, a grad student who lived in Crystal Springs in District 4, was elected to the City Council. So we've had two grad students on the City Council. We've had a number of undergrad students run for City Council, but none got elected. But we have the student liaison positions now. The student liaisons positions were established in 2002 at the urging of a University of Maryland student named Eric Swalwell, who lobbied the mayor and council in 2001 to establish such a position. It was approved by a vote of 7-1. Eric Swalwell was our first student liaison, and perhaps our most successful student liaison, as he graduated from Maryland. He went to the University of Maryland Law School, got his law degree, moved back to Northern California, where he was from, got elected to the City Council, the City of Dublin. Very shortly thereafter, he ran for the 14th District in the U.S. House of Representatives for California, got elected. I think now he just won for his 7th term. So he's probably our most successful student liaison, because you see him on the news all the time. Our first female student liaison was Emily Guskin, who got the position in 2005, and she's also somebody who's in the news, who you read about occasionally, although in a different way, because for the last decade she's worked for the Washington Post. She is their deputy director of polling. After she graduated in Maryland, I think maybe Mayor Pro Tem will be glad to know that she got her master's at Rutgers. She came back to the D.C. area, and as I said, she's been with the Post now for the last decade. And you will see her byline in stories occasionally in the Post that deal with polling type issues. So she's easy to keep track of. Emily was also interesting because when she was on the student liaison, she was on the quiz show, Do You Want to Be a Millionaire? And she won $10,000 because she knew the answer to a question on recycling. And she said she knew it because it was something that had been discussed in the City Council work session.
Wow. There you go.
So she made $10,000 at the time the City Council salary was $4,400. So she actually made more money than us. One thing that we did about 2011, we had a dinner at Bentley's for the past student liaisons. Given that probably many of the student liaisons still live in the D.C. area, it might be good to try to have another dinner of the past student liaisons one day. Thank you for your time.
Sure, thank you. Fascinating stories. Keep doing it, please. Thank you. All right, we have someone online. Is there anyone in the room who wants to speak on any consent agenda or non-agenda items? We have Michelle Johnson from Housing Authority. She wants to speak. Can we bring her in and let her speak?
Hello, can you
Yes,
hear
please.
me?
Welcome. Please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Johnson. I'm the Executive Director with the Housing Authority of the City of College Park. And first thing I want to say is thank you to the council and mayor for allowing me to come and speak tonight. Well, I don't have to go through a whole big history of the Housing Authority, because the great thing is that the mayor and council have been very actively involved with the Housing Authority, and the many repairs and many complaints that we have regarding our situation. the Housing Authority right now is going through renovations. And again, I want to say thank you to the City of College Park and the council and their involvement in for the ARPA funds, and also for the reprogramming of the ARPA funds. This has helped the Housing Authority to replace all of our HVAC units. And for those that don't know, our heating and ventilation and air conditioning systems throughout the Housing Authority, over 170 units were replaced with the assistance of those funds. I'm here because I want the city council to continue to venture out and to add items of capital repair for the Housing Authority and other businesses within the city with affordable housing or persons with disabilities to seek out funding for those capital activities, specifically the bond bill. The Housing Authority was a recipient of the bond bill in the past, and the Housing Authority still needs, again, around $10 million in repairs. Just to give you a few of those repairs, the Housing Authority needs to upgrade 6 units, apartment units, and 2 common room restrooms to be UFAS accessible, which is Uniform Federal Accessibility Standards, which is a step above your regular ADA units. This is going to cost us around $170,000. The Housing Authority needs electrical repairs, which will cost $804,365.71. This includes but not limited to circuit breakers, electrical panels, switch gear, branch wiring. We also have plumbing repairs that cost over $2 million, $2,640,000. Now this is for fittings, piping, backflow preventers, and several other items that need to be repaired. Plumbing repairs throughout the Housing Authority. We need a new fire suppression system, which is going to almost cost $1 million, which is $822,000. Flooring system, $150,000. Painting throughout the Housing Authority for $500,000. Again, the Housing Authority wants to thank the City of College Park for all the things that you have done and the support throughout the council. And we ask you to continue to support and go after the funding that supports capital funds throughout the City of College Park. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming and speaking, and we appreciate the partnership and all the good work you've been doing and the board has been doing as a body.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, anyone else wants to speak on the consent agenda items? Seeing none, let's move to approve the consent agenda item. We have 4 of them. Let me read them out first and then I will entertain a motion. The first one is 24G136, which is the approval of a letter to the Prince George's County Council and the Prince George's County Planning Board with recommendations to amend Section 24-4600 Parklands and Recreation Facilities of the Mandatory Dedication of Parkland Ordinance. The second one is 24G
With amendments.
with minor amendments for clarifications. Thank you. And the second one is 24G143, which is the approval of a community service grant of $2,000 to the Holy Redeemer Home and School Association's Walk for Education event. Third one is 24G142, which is the approval of recommendation to the Board of License Commissioners for issuance of Class B beer, wine, and alcoholic beverage license of Arepa Zone, the Astor LLC, Arepa Zone at the property at 4341 Calvert Road, College Park, Maryland 20740, subject to license agreement to a property use agreement with the city in substantially the form attached, authorizing the city manager to sign the PUA. And the final and fourth one is 24G145, which is about confirmation of the appointment of Anna K. McDonald as Deputy Student Liaison.
I move to, I make a motion to
Approve.
approve of the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? The consent agenda item has been approved. Thank you. We do not have any presentation or public hearings, and we have one action item, which is 24G141. This will be taken by our Director of Human Services, Ms. Teresa Way. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Teresa Way Pizzuti, HR Director for the city, and I'm here to request the authorization to distribute holiday bonuses to all eligible city staff. One of our strategic objectives is to cultivate an empowered and collaborative organizational culture that is high-performing and value its employees. It's crucial that we show our employees how important they are, and it helps with recruitment and retention. The city manager would like to award the employees with this bonus on behalf of council. Eligibility include all part-time and full-time employees, and also this year, some contract police officers. All contract officers who work at least 650 hours this year will receive this bonus, and it's going to be about 12 of them. So I move that the city council authorize the city manager to distribute holiday bonuses to eligible full, part, and these 12 contract officers. And I can take any questions at this time.
Thank you. Can you tell us about the dollar amount? Is it 75,000? Am I correct?
Yeah, it's going to be
In total?
approximately 75,000.
Right, thank you. All right, Dr. Esters.
Thank you, Ms. Way Pizzuti. I thank you for providing the clarification that was sought in your overview of the cover letter, which is why I asked for it to be moved from consent to action, because I didn't feel it was clear for those reading to understand eligibility and who would be actually receiving the bonus. So thank you for making that clarification.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other question? Councilor Hernandez.
Yes. Thank you, Director Way Pizzuti. My only question is, with regard to the contract police officers, are we using that to incentivize future contract officers to help and support our city? Because I know it's kind of on a rotating basis to select this particular precinct, right? Or just the area of College Park.
Right, that would incentivize others to join the contract police officer program.
Okay. Is it possible for us to, I guess this is just a conversation for later, but something that comes to mind for my colleagues, for us to use that same platform to help with our efforts for crossing guards? I know right now they're using an overtime type of sort of situation in order for police officers to collect overtime to go and do crossing guard duties at College Park schools. So it's just something just to consider as we're trying to bring more people here to help us out. No, thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and
You're
I'm
welcome.
obviously
Thank you.
very supportive.
Thank you. Any other questions? So seeing none, I entertain a motion, then I'll go to the audience for public comments. Please go ahead, Mr. Rick. Who's going to take? Dr. Esters.
I move to authorize the city manager to distribute holiday bonuses to all eligible city staff.
Second.
Thank you. Let's go to the audience. If you want to speak on this item, please come forward and speak. You have 3 minutes. Anyone online, you can also join, and I will let you speak. Please raise your virtual hand if you want to speak. Seeing none, let's come back to the council. Any further comments before we take vote? Seeing none, let's take the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion has been approved. Thank you. That was easy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Way Pizzuti. We have one work session items, and that is about the legislative priorities, and this will be taken by our Assistant City Manager, Bill Gardiner, and also Len Lucci as well.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Len Lucci, our lobbyist,
Lobbyist, right?
is with us tonight. Ms. Anderson, are you still our lobbyist as well? You wearing two hats? Okay. All right, so we have both of our lobbyists here. Our very talented city attorney is serving both roles. And Mr. Lucci has been with us for a number of years helping out. So this discussion is something that we do pretty much every year for the council to provide direction to staff and information to residents about the priorities you would like our delegates, our state delegation, to support in the upcoming General Assembly. And we take the priorities that you've adopted and have a conversation with the delegation and other county leaders at our legislative dinner, which will be on the 21st of November. So one of the priorities that we've had in the past year was for the pedestrian bridge that I mentioned we got funding for, and now Park and Planning is doing a feasibility study that hopefully will lead to improvements for the city, particularly connectivity in that part of the city. We've got in the agenda packet about 6 policy type priorities for your consideration and 3 capital project priorities for your consideration. And I'll talk very quickly about each of those, and then let you ask questions and let Mr. Lucci maybe provide some of his feedback on this approach and perhaps other insights in the upcoming session. So land use authority for local jurisdictions is something that we supported last year. There was a bill introduced. It did not pass. We've reworked it and brought it back to you to make sure that you were on board. We've also shared it with a number of other jurisdictions in Prince George's County who have been supportive. And so we're hoping that you will again tonight approve that as one of your priorities for this session. Last year, the county received last year counties received authority to increase fines up to $5,000 from the prior cap of $1,000. Municipalities were not able to participate in that specific bill, but we are hopeful that this year we will get the General Assembly to pass a bill that would give municipalities the same authority. And that's almost an inflationary adjustment because it's been $1,000 for probably 30, 40 years. And it's not for every infraction. It would be for serious infractions that we really want to get a violator's attention. Last year, we did support legislation that would increase state funding for youth service bureaus. We will try. That did not pass. We will try it again. Try again this year to get that across both houses. This council has discussed some options to make childcare more affordable for our residents, and a couple possibilities to approach that are listed in priority 4. The state has passed legislation in the last session that was very supportive of child care subsidies. Not all of the proposals were approved, and this is one, the copay for scholarships didn't make it through in the bill last year, but that might be something that we consider this year. And then, of course, maybe a month or 2 ago, council authorized a letter to our state delegates asking that they look into the staffing ratios, which seem to be much more stringent in Maryland, and therefore making childcare more expensive in Maryland than our neighbors and actually states across the country. And then the last 2 items are possible ways for municipalities to increase revenue sources, not specific to College Park, but something that MML has supported and we've supported separately at times. The first would be to look at changing the income tax brackets so that there would be more brackets for incomes in excess of $250,000 a year. And then the last one would authorize municipalities to impose a food and beverage tax for on-site consumption. Something that would generate, that, again, this is an MML priority. If it were to be enacted here, it would generate quite a bit of additional revenue for the city. And then finally, for capital projects, we've talked about the need for funding to complete the Baltimore Avenue reconstruction project. We've made that a priority in the past. I know that our delegation, Ben Barnes, Senator Rosapep, I know they are very engaged with State Highway to try to identify funding sources for engineering and design. I think it would help if we make that a priority. And we've discussed Attic Tower capital needs frequently, and they remain. And then Youth and Family Services is interested in doing some landscaping and creating a meditation space on its site. And that was a possible project that you could consider for a capital bond bill from the state. With that, let me
Thank you.
hand it over to Mr. Lucci to see if he has some thoughts to add, and then hear your thoughts.
Mr. Lucci, thank you for coming.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Can you hear me, or should I be pressing one of these buttons?
I think I can hear you, right?
Oh,
Or maybe you can
no.
give that one.
Fix it there.
There you go. It works.
Here you go.
Oh, good, thanks. Great to be with you all. I miss hanging out with all of you, but Stephanie gives me great reports. Anyway, today was, let me just comment generally on what the outlook is very briefly, but for the next session, because today was the meeting of what's called the Spending Affordability Committee, which was set up by the legislature decades ago when California started Proposition 13 about cutting taxes. They said, well, we won't do that, but we want to have a committee that looks at how we're spending and sets spending increases each year or decreases depending on how the economy looks. So today, the Spending Affordability Committee, which is co-chaired by our Senator Jim Rosapep, heard a briefing from the Department of Legislative Services on the fiscal outlook for the state of Maryland. And it was not a pretty picture. By some measures of comparison, they're saying it's like it's almost as bad as what they said when we had the Depression or recession several years ago in 2008, that they're comparing it to that year in terms of the write-down in revenues. And so there's a lot of discussion in Annapolis about how they can raise state revenues without hurting working families. And there's a lot of different ways of doing that, and there's a lot of discussion on that. But the point is that it's going to be a tough year to ask for additional spending. That being the case, if there are any funds, we're in a good position with our representatives in Annapolis, with Ben Barnes chairing the Appropriations Committee and Jim Rosapep, vice chair of the Budget and Taxation Committee. And in terms of capital budget items, even in the worst years, they always have money for capital budget to bring back to the localities. It might not be as much as other years, but there's always something. So this is a very good agenda. It's an ambitious one. You'll make me earn my fee, but that's good. They are all good, positive changes to help not just the city, but other cities as well. So I guess I'd be glad to entertain any specific questions on these items if you want, but otherwise I just wanted to talk generally about how it's going to be a tough fiscal session.
Thank you. Ms. Anderson, do you want to add anything? I know you're part of the team as well. Thank you for your help.
No, thank you. I have nothing to add.
Thank you. Any question for our lobbyist and the staff? Oh, that's good. Mr. Hernandez, I think you, Ms. Whitney, please go ahead first.
Thank
Yes.
you. I guess I was kind of surprised to read about the proposal for the food and beverage tax for on-site consumption. It seems like on top of the standard tipping rates kind of creeping up, right? A lot of us, it seems more like 20% is the standard now, not 15. And then so sometimes with really good service, you're feeling like you want to tip 25. So to add 3% onto that, I'm just concerned that and especially specifically on dining in, when I really think what we often try to work toward as a council is community and bringing people together and, you know, developing third places, which restaurants commonly are. So I have concerns about that item, and I wonder if that has been discussed at all, you know, when it was being proposed. I also have concerns that it could harm servers and reduce their gratuity.
I guess the Municipal League came up with that
MML is
idea, right?
supporting it, yeah. Do you know why they're supporting it?
Well, first,
Revenue?
it's authorization only. But generally speaking, municipalities have been reliant on property taxes as kind of their main and almost sole source of kind of revenue. So the Municipal League and many municipalities have been looking for other ways to diversify its revenue. So it's not something that, fortunately, we have had a concern about. We've been doing very, very well relying on property taxes, and we also have other sources such as hotel, motel, amusements that many municipalities don't have. So in terms of a need for revenue diversification, again, it's authorizing only. We're probably not the poster child to push it, but it's something that municipalities generally have been looking for.
I can tell you, Councilmember Whitney, that the General Assembly jealously guards the sales tax as its own province and has always, with one exception, resisted sharing that or letting any other entity have a surtax on top of that. The only exception has been the town of Ocean City. When it built the new convention center 20-some years ago, they had a temporary surtax on the sales tax to pay off the bonds for that convention center. But in my memory, that's the only time they've ever made an exception.
Well, if it was temporary, it's still in place.
Oh, is it still like, I don't know, okay, I guess they haven't paid off the bonds yet.
Maybe it's the 50 years temporary.
That's how they sold it at the time. Oh, this is just temporary, but.
Thank you. Mr. Hernandez.
Yeah, hey, this is my first year at the very beginning of this Maryland legislative process, and so I don't know if I missed when we had this conversation about these priorities, but I have a couple just notes to just include my own input. I was recently educated about the childcare staffing ratios, and I personally, I mean, I didn't know this before we sent a letter up there, but there's a reason Maryland has really dedicated to maintaining a lower staffing ratio. So my personal, just so you know, I'm not necessarily supportive of trying to alter that. I think what I've heard from at least 2 different childcare facilities is that the existing staffing ratios help provide individualized attention to the different students, and there are abilities to make those particular facilities larger, but staffing ratios isn't the way to do it to help address the increasing cost of pay. I also, so separately, everything else seems, I'm super supportive of, especially the Land Use Authority and the increasing state fundings to our Youth and Family Services Bureau as you know, I think there was a Maryland, at least, bill written to help address the shortfalls of our particular service facility, given the fact that it used to support a larger group of, or because of the funding cuts, has now increased has had an increase in demand for services. So super supportive of that. I would just like to, I mean, if I could just make a pitch here. One more that I'm super supportive of is finishing out Route 1, right? That north part of Route 1 is obviously always going to be a huge priority in terms of capital project priorities. Attic Tower is fully supportive of, but I mean, just we're always going to want more. I will just do a quick pitch here and I guess open it up for discussions with my colleagues here. But the state of Maryland has a lot of efforts open, both through education or like increasing the availability of state resources in multilingual capacities, and it really comes from the direction of the state. So I mean, I'd like to pitch just the city's interest in making sure that that is one of our priorities. I know that might come at a cost at some point, and I don't know where, but I just want to make sure that it's discussed here on the dais.
Thank you. Any comments?
I could comment a little bit on the childcare, just because I'm familiar with that. Part of that stems back to a couple years ago when they passed the Blueprint for Education, and they had uniform pre-kindergarten, and they did not have the classrooms in public schools for all of that. So they had to have a combination of private pre-kindergarten and public, and they operated on different models, right? Public has certified teachers and staffing ratios and those things. Private, not as much, and suddenly they're trying to merge the two systems into one. And that was a difficulty, and that's part of the whole thing about the staffing ratios and trying to make it the same. But they're not the same, they're different, they have different cultures, and so that's the difficulty. I mean, eventually I think the public schools plan to have enough classrooms to do all the pre-K themselves for 4 and 5-year-olds, but while they're operating on this hybrid system, that's the difficulty, is because there's different criteria, different qualifications, and they're trying to merge it together.
And so, to that extent, though, does the state help provide funding to public schools?
Yes, but there's also a big partnership where the localities are also called upon to share in that. So it's a big expense, and the whole Blueprint for Education is the biggest driver in terms of the state's fiscal situation, because they set forth this very ambitious but very worthy plan to overhaul Maryland public education, and pretty soon the bill will becoming due, and so that's why a lot of people at the state level are looking at how do we raise revenue without doing it on the backs of working families.
I think the highest income taxing, just increasing the tax on the higher income individuals, perhaps.
Higher income and closing corporate loopholes.
I think that's a wonderful way to. We ourselves at the municipality level faced this same question not too long ago,
Right.
and had to make some of those difficult decisions. I know that they have a little bit more leeway up there, so thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Esters. And then Ms. Becky.
So I just wanted to say that I support most of these policy priorities. However, I do agree with my colleague regarding the food and beverage tax for on-site consumption. I just have real concerns about that. And just wanted to ask you if you could talk a bit about what happens if we as a city don't put that forth as a priority for us, given that it's come from the Maryland Municipal League. Is there any concern about us not being supportive of that?
Is there less opportunity for getting revenues? Is that all?
Yeah, I mean, there's 100 and some municipalities, and so if one of them is silent on that, the MML lobbying team will still go forth and push it, but that's gonna be a tough road for MML
Okay.
on that, because they really do not like to share that revenue source with any other level of government.
Thank you for that. I have another. And I think I wanted to direct this to Mr. Gardner or Mr. Young. The capital projects and priorities, the funding for the Youth and Family Services Meditation Garden and landscaping, and wondering if that is something that the city can help to support versus seeking that through capital budget. And the reason why I ask is because we know it's going to be a tough year. And I don't know if this is something that we want to put forward now, but allow the Youth and Family Services to start doing something.
Right, sure. And Youth and Family Services is working with a landscape architect doing some preliminary design work. And absolutely, the city council during, next budget session or at any time can authorize funding for a project like that. And we could go that route, and maybe that would allow a little more focus on other priorities in the city. But that's your choice. And I actually wanted to I'll use that to respond a bit to Councilmember Hernandez, and that these are draft priorities. They're not priorities that council has approved or really discussed, except for the ones that we're kind of bringing back. So we didn't present this to say, here it is, take it as it is. It's for you to discuss and approve.
And if I can just end by saying that I wanted to go back to the on-site food and beverage tax. My real concern, as my colleague brought up, is that in the idea of building community, where folks are just getting back to, coming back to life, so to speak, after COVID, and really building this idea of coming out, going out, and I don't want to do anything that would hinder that. So just my thoughts. Thank you.
Fine. Ms. Mackey?
Yes. I was wondering if you could give us a little bit more information on what increased state funding for youth service bureaus. What exactly does that entail?
I mean, there are just a handful of municipalities in the state that operate youth services bureaus, so the constituency is narrow, and in the past, it's been a convenient way for cuts to be made, because always just a handful of municipalities will cut it there, and we won't hear anything about it. And so they have fallen behind in terms of state funding. And so last year there was legislation to increase the funding. It didn't go very far. This year it will be tougher, but I think I found in Annapolis the best defense is a good offense. If you ask for more funding, at least maybe that way you won't get cut anymore.
Okay, and I have a second question.
Sure,
That's okay.
please.
So I was just concerned that I don't really see any environmental issues on this, and I was just wondering why we don't have any. Tree canopy, getting help with our tree canopy, helping with stream maintenance and restoration, and different things like that we have in the city, possibly conservation easements, or just, there's just nothing environmental in this list, and I was concerned about that, because every year there's a lot of environmental bills that are brought forward, as you well know, and a lot of them nobody really understands, or they don't get the information out as need be. So I just thought that maybe we as a city should be thinking of, we do have environmental issues here in the city that we need to address. And, one of them is, too, that we deal with, we have a stream and it needs maintenance. We have, I mentioned this earlier, I think you walked in afterwards about flooding because of, storm drain issues, just, and I know that we're doing some things on storm drains, and that's a really good thing, but I just was concerned why there were no environmental, issues
Have you-
brought here.
Have you heard of any legislation on the environmental issues?
I mean, there's a bunch of different major environmental bills that are brewing out there. At some point, maybe I can make a presentation to you about what the big ones are and which ones you might want to weigh in on. The biggest challenge in this whole area, climate area, is 2 years ago, the legislature passed the Climate Solutions Now Act with very ambitious goals for reducing greenhouse gases, and Stephanie and I were both involved in getting that passed. The problem is that according to the Secretary of the Environment, to reach those goals, it's going to cost an extra $1 billion a year. And there have been proposals to put, either retroactively or prospectively, put some kind of a fee on fossil fuel providers and manufacturers in Maryland to pay for that, because it's caused billions of dollars of damage to the state, similar to when the tobacco companies had to pay billions of dollars to help ameliorate the health effects that were caused by that. There's been no consensus on what that would look like, a carbon tax or cap and invest or a fee on fossil fuels, and it's all being considered by the governor in terms of what he would want to go forward on that. But that seems to be a big issue among all the environmental advocacy groups is, okay, we're going to get to these goals by 2030 and 2035, but how are we going to do that? This past spring, the governor had an executive order with very ambitious climate goals, not just for the state, but for his departments. And the biggest one were the building energy performance standards. And you have a whole corridor of them in terms of converting them from fossil fuels and natural gas to heat pumps, and helping people who can't afford the heat pumps is a huge dollar item in itself. And so that's the whole question is, okay, we have these goals, they're very laudable. We think they might, possibility might going backwards at the federal level. How do we keep going? And so there's going to have to be some reckoning of how to pay for that. And there's been progress on that, but it's going to take everyone together in Annapolis to agree on that, because it's going to be a major investment.
That's why I asked. I just wanted to know.
Thank you.
And just want to close that I also support my colleagues about number 6, about the food and beverage tax. Also agreeing with the fact that Mr. Williams has left, but he has done a exemplary job to get restaurants into College Park, and where people can go and enjoy family dinners. And I grew up in College Park, and I remember there wasn't really any place for people to go to, and I don't want to do something that will deter that. So that's something I guess I'm a little concerned about, as I agree with my colleagues on that.
Number 6, okay. Mr. Rigg, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mackey. Oh, sorry, I didn't see that. Mr. Young, please go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to address a couple of things that Councilmember Mackey brought up in terms of the Youth Services Bureau. That particular funding source brings in about $85,000 to the city currently. One of our major concerns there is that we are seeing an increase in demand for services in this area. And as Mr. Lucci kind of indicated there's only 5 jurisdictions that actually receive that funding. And so it really comes upon us to have to supplement some of providing those services with our own city funds. And so that's where our concern is regarding that matter.
Thank you. That's helpful. Anything else, Mr. Young? That's all?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the feedback. Mr. Rigg.
Thank you, and hello, Mr. Lucci.
Hi.
Just a couple of questions, and I'll be brief. The first is, you characterize the fiscal situation at the state level as being difficult. And you also said in a separate comment that a lot of that had to do with the blueprint for Maryland's future education plan. Is there also a revenue side of that? Is there a revenue shortfall that we need to be tracking on that could have impacts on the city?
Yes, I mean, income taxes have actually been healthy. It's been the sales tax that's been lagging, and the state has a very small share of property tax that's been lagging, but but that's where the lag has been. And then there's just tremendous uncertainty over the change in the federal administration and what that could mean for the state of Maryland and its revenue. Especially if the Washington area federal employees get moved to other parts of the country. I think like 8% of our residents are income producers are federal employees, and so it's sensitive to that. So, but yeah, there's the revenue sources have some are stronger than others, but that's what's been lagging is mainly sales tax and property tax. And then on the transportation trust fund side of it, the more you push for electric vehicles, the less gas tax revenue you have. And that's been a declining source of revenue as well. And they have to figure out how to deal with that. I mean, it's a separate fund, but it's a very important fund. It's very important for City of College Park and Route 1. And so that's a separate but a very serious challenge too.
Thank you. And also, can you say something? So there was a note, policy priority 5 in the packet that it didn't really ring a bell with me, so I was going to ask for a little bit more information. It says, broaden the municipal piggy bank income tax base by creating more brackets for incomes over $250,000. I guess my questions are, which municipality are we talking about? Because I'm trying to think of municipalities that have income taxes. Would that be at the county level? And also, is that $250,000 for individuals or for couples filing jointly, or what's the threshold there?
That I don't know whether it's individual or family, but I can tell you that, as you know, counties can level a piggyback tax of up to 3.2% of the state income, of your state income, and Prince George's County has been at that maximum for a while, and I believe the municipals get a 16% share of that 3.2%. And the counties have been coming to Annapolis saying, you have a state graduated income tax. Our piggyback tax is a flat rate. We want to have a graduated county income tax. And a couple of years, and Anne Arundel County was the big county pushing for that. And a couple of years ago, they said, okay, you could graduate your income tax, but you're still stuck at the 3.2% level. So none of the counties did it because they would lose revenue. The whole idea of graduating is some would be higher, some would be lower, and that didn't happen. So the counties are going to come back again for that, but that excludes the municipal share. And so that's why there's been some talk about, well, let municipalities do the same thing. Now, I mean, it'll be a godsend to CPAs, because if you have 3 different tax rates for 3 different levels of government, it'll be a bit complicated. But the principle is there, right, that those that have more income should pay a higher rate of their income, and those that have less income should pay a lower rate. And that's what's behind there. But you can't graduate the taxes without raising the cap, because then all you're doing is guaranteeing that you have less revenue.
Thank you. Thanks for the clarification. So I see there are some concerns about number 6 in the policy priorities. I think at least 3 of my colleagues talked about it. Huh? Maybe 4? Okay. So,
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, sorry
Please
to
go ahead.
interrupt, but I think Mr. Young may
oh,
want
Mr.
to
Young,
chime
Mr.
in
Young,
on
please go
this.
ahead. I didn't see your hand. Please go ahead, Mr. Young. Please unmute yourself. Okay.
I'm sorry, I did not have anything to say, thank you.
Oh, it's probably old hand. Yeah. All right. So how do you want to do it? Is it okay? I can do it in two ways. Probably the easiest way of doing it, the one item or the items that we do not agree. Please go ahead.
So, Mr. Gardner, I guess this is directed at you. So if we go forward and move this, this doesn't necessarily mean that we're supporting this because it's more of finding out information, or if we go forward with this, we're supporting it.
Yeah, I think if you were to approve these as priorities, you would be supporting
We'll be
it.
supporting it,
Okay.
and
If you don't want to support it, let's not support it now. On the other hand, I would say that particularly with environmental issues, just because it's not supported here doesn't mean that we can't come back later.
Right,
and-
right.
Yeah.
And so
add
if we
to-
were to not support number 6, we could learn more about it and.
we can support later
Sure.
on.
Support it later. Okay, I just wanted to make
Absolutely.
sure I was clear on that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's also suggesting, we could probably take a motion supporting everything minus 6, and then we can bring the number 6 back, if that is okay. Looks like there's some concerns on number 6.
Yes.
Right? Can I entertain a motion on that? Mr. Wright?
Sure, I'll be happy to make the motion. So I would move to adopt the policies, priorities, and the capital project priorities listed in the packet, with the exception of council policy priority 6, support authorization for municipalities to impose a food and beverage tax for on-site consumption for up to 3% as our city's priorities for the 2025 Maryland legislative session.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Moved by Councilor Ray and seconded by Dr. Esters. Let's take it to the audience. Anyone wants us to speak on this item? I do not see anyone in the room, anyone online. When I speak, please raise your Zoom hand, and I will allow you to speak. I don't see any. All right, let's come back. Any comments before you take the vote? Seeing none, let's do the vote. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, any abstention? So motion is approved. Remember, we'll be talking more about all these, at least, all these items, actually, minus 6, at the legislative dinner, and we'll be assigning ourselves on each one of them.
Yes.
And speaking of that, so there will be a lot of discussions on that. And thank you, Mr. Lucci. Keep
Thank
up the
you.
good work. We're in good hands.
Always a
And
pleasure.
thank you, Mr. Anderson.
And I'll
Get a good
circle
team.
back to the mayor and council on kind of how to present this during our legislative dinner.
Yeah, our staff does always fantastic job.
All right, see you all next week. Won't be that long.
Oh, yeah,
Nope.
yeah, we'll be eating together. All right, we're done with all the action, we're done with the action items.
Yep.
Correct. And the work sessions, correct. We don't have anything left. And now we go for request for, or a status of future agenda items. Anything? Go ahead, Councilmember.
Yes, I submitted a request to add an item to a future agenda earlier today. The agenda item title was to launch an initiative for the a bike lane safety ordinance.
Yeah, I saw that. Thank you for submitting that item. And I second that. All right, this is about adding this item. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, any abstentions? It's been added. Anything else? Okay, good. All right, now we go to the audience. If you have anything to speak, or anyone online, you don't see, let's come back. Any comments from the council? Let's start from my left, with Mr. Rigg.
Yeah, I think I'll pass, thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Mackey.
Pass.
I'll pass to Councilor Whitney.
Since I left my microphone on, I guess I'll say something.
Please go ahead.
No, I did want to thank some of our District 2 residents who came out and helped us out at our Good Neighbor Day event, taught crocheting to my daughter and a bunch of other Maryland students and some fellow residents. So it was really fun. It was a great event,
It was.
and we
Thank
couldn't have
you.
done it without them.
Yeah, so all the cooking lessons and everything, Dr. Esther's. Oh my goodness, those are beautiful photos.
It was nice to actually cook and spend time with those who attended, so
Yes.
thank you.
We have so many talents and so many different levels. Thank you. Dr. Esther, you don't have anything else other than cooking? Okay,
Nothing else.
thank you. Mr. Hernandez,
Pass, thank you.
thank you. Let's go to Mr. Art Sternlias.
I just want to quickly bring it to everyone's attention that there is currently a petition made by a resident for a dog park in College Park.
Yeah.
And it's on change.org. So,
It is in Calvert Hills Dog Park. I think this will be discussed in the Calvert Civic Station meeting, am I correct?
Yeah, I can help clarify. So there's, it's some advocacy for a Southern College Park dog park. I can say that I think there'll be both voices of support and voices of dissent in the community. I will note that we attempted, one of my first actions as a council member was to try to get the University of Maryland to use some vacant state land for a dog park, because a lot of student residents were demanding it, and there were a lot of student residents who were using privately owned land as their dog park at the time, much to the chagrin of the private landowner. But the university took a pass on working with us to develop a dog park. Perhaps that would be another opportunity.
There you go. Well, I appreciate your leadership on that. Yeah, I've been following that discussion. Very, very engaging conversation. Thank you. Yeah, I saw that petition as well. Thank you for mentioning it. Let's go to our staff. Mr. Young, you're still there. Thank you. Enjoy the conference, and if you have any last comments, tell us all about NLC.
Well, I'm representing you well here in Tampa and enjoying the weather, but I have no further comments for you this evening.
Yeah, I talked to Mr. Adams this afternoon, and he's walking on the beautiful 78 degrees with Mr. Hugh. And we have thank you. All right, so I did.
Move
Okay,
to
we don't have
adjourn.
anything. Now I entertain a motion
Move to adjourn.
take
Second.
adjourn, but
Have
there's a
closed
closed session, so I
Yes.
need to do my duty. And just read the statement of the closed session. Pursuant to the statutory authority of Maryland Annotated Code, General Provisions, Article 3-305B, B, 7, and 8, the mayor and council of the city of College Park are providing notice that they will meet in a closed session after meeting to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice and to consult with the staff, consultants, or other individuals about pending or potential litigation. They will not return to open session. Now we can take the motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, any abstention? We are adjourned. Good night, College Park. Thank you.